They called them moonbites. Two neat holes on soft skin. Blue-black veins spreading like spilled ink. In Ndioko, people kept their doors shut after dusk. Mothers burned palm fronds at thresholds. Hunters hung charms by windows. None of it worked. Girls still fell sick, then silent. At first the elders blamed spirits in the raffia swamp. Then a healer said it was a rare fever. But the graveyard kept growing. Rumor moved faster than radio. Everyone swore they saw a shadow slip through compounds right before a scream. No footprints. No broken latches. Just the marks and the fear that followed them into morning. Obifuna arrived with a tape measure on his neck and sawdust on his cuffs. He knew how to speak to people. Called old men Narani. Helped widows fix leaking roofs for half the price. His laugh was warm. His hands were steady. Walls rose straight under his guide, and praise followed him like sunshine. Women liked the way he listened. He remembered small details, a sister in Enugu, a mother's cough, a favorite song at Christmas. He walked home late, unhurried, humming, never worried about the night. If anyone wondered why he never courted, he said work came first. The village believed him. The moonbites continued. Olido was the kind of girl who kept everyone's secrets and still had room for one more. She worked at the grinding mill. She teased the little ones with roasted groundnuts. One evening she walked back from choir practice. People heard the rustle, then a soft gasp. By morning, her skin was cold. 2 marks on her thigh. A scarf fallen beside the footpath. Ndioko buried her under the Udala tree. Someone said they saw a tall man step out from the bamboo thicket and vanish. Another swore they heard a low hiss. The adults told everyone to keep quiet. But silence did not hold. Rumor tugged at a name and would not let go. Adaeze left Ndioko 2 years ago for teacher training in Aba. When the call came about Olido, she boarded a bus the same day. The road home was the same, red dust, goats everywhere, boys chasing kites made from cement bags. It all felt smaller, like grief had pressed the village into itself. She saw the grave and went still. Then she began to ask questions. Where was Olido's scarf found? Who saw her last? Why did these bites look so clean, like careful work rather than chaos? People flinched at the way Adaeze's eyes held them one by one. That evening she stood by the palm press and watched Obifuna walk past. He smiled. She did not smile back. Adaeze noticed little things. How Obifuna's trousers sat a bit stiff at the front, as if a rod ran down one leg. How he never let the village boys carry his tool bag. How he always left gatherings right before the moon climbed high. She followed from a distance twice and watched him stand very still near the old cassava barn, one hand inside his waistband, waiting. When she asked Aunt Nwakego about unusual stitching, the old woman frowned. Some men hide charms sewn into cloth. For protection. Adaeze nodded. That night she dreamed of a key turning in the air and a whistle cut short. She woke with the feeling that the answer was older than the village itself. Beyond Ndioko lay Udali Grove, where the wind never stopped talking. People went there when doctors shrugged and pastors sighed. Adaeze went at noon with cola and palm oil. The woman they called Mother Aweel sat cross-legged, hair white like ash. Her eyes missed nothing. Adaeze spoke simply. Girls are dying. My friend is under the Udala tree. I think a man is walking with a hidden serpent. Mother Aweel listened without blinking, then reached into a calabash and brought out a small brass key on a strip of red cloth. This opens no door, she said. It opens will. A serpent hears metal before it hears music. Carry this. And if you must blow, use an ojo. She pointed to a clay flute on the mat. But do not rush. Snakes answer patience. The key was warm in Adaeze's palm. Tiny lines ran across it like scales. Mother Aweel showed her how to tie it at the waist so it sat near the hip bone, where breath could touch it. Then she taught her where the ojo should sit between the lips, how to hold notes steady, how to cut the air with sound instead of force. Adaeze practiced under the ujiri tree behind her mother's house. First the hens complained. Then even the hens went quiet. A lizard froze on the fence while she played. When she paused, its chest started moving again. She understood. Control was not in the hands or the mouth. It was in the waiting between notes, where fear tries to speak and you refuse to let it. Men who came from other towns often pretend they belong. Obifuna did it better than most. He learned the nicknames of elders and kept his hair low so nobody would say he was proud. But Adaeze found a trader in the next market town who remembered him. He once worked with a mason in Umachi, the trader said. Left after a girl died near the yam barn. Same kind of talk. Hiss in the night. No proof, only sorrow. Back in Ndioko, Adaeze watched him fix the church steps. He moved like a man who trusted his feet. Too easy. Too clean. When he bent, she saw the stitching line again. Not tailor's work. Hunter's work. A long cloth tube was sewn inside, running down his thigh. Something living needed a path. Her mouth dried. She tightened the red cloth around her waist. Adaeze didn't confront him. Not yet. She helped Mama Rose grind pepper. She taught the children a counting song under the mango tree. She sat with elders and listened to petty quarrels. She became part of the village air again, ordinary, harmless, forgettable. People who want truth some days must first look like furniture. 3 nights later she left a small trail, scent of crushed lemongrass on the path behind the cassava barn, a dropped ribbon, a giggle carried on purpose. Then she hid on the old school veranda with the ojo and the key close to skin. Midnight came soft. Footsteps came softer. She heard the cloth shift. She heard that sound no one forgets after they hear it once, the careful hiss that feels like a blade being pulled from water. She pressed the brass key against her hip and lifted the ojo. The first note was low, steady, almost like a lullaby with no words. The air changed. The hiss staggered. The footsteps stopped. Adaeze held the note until her lungs burned, then cut it and struck the key once with her fingernail. A bright ping shot through the dark like a pin of light. Something uncoiled. Fabric rasped. Then she saw it, a viper sliding from the cloth tube inside Obifuna's trousers, head rising to find the sound that called it. His hand moved fast to cover it, but the snake wanted the music more than the hand. Adaeze felt the fear run through her body, panic banging at the ribs. She kept the second note slow, true, unshaking. The viper listened like a student. Who is there? Obifuna's voice cracked. He stood between barn and moonlight, shape sharp against the sky. The village was sleeping, but one dog barked twice and went quiet again. Adaeze didn't answer. She gave the ojo a quick high trill, then another ping of the key. The viper swung toward her, then settled, as if torn between 2 masters. Obifuna reached inside the cloth tube and tried to pinch the snake's neck. It flashed and nicked his wrist. He swore. The clean laugh that charmed Ndioko vanished. What came out sounded like dry leaves. Bring your face if you are brave, he spat. Adaeze stepped into the moonwash and let him see her. His mouth almost smiled before he remembered to look afraid. She did not argue with him. She blew 3 short notes, the agreed signal with the boys she trusted. From behind fences and from under eaves, 2 of them ran to ring the iron gong by the shrine. Metal woke the village faster than cockcrow. Doors opened. Feet slapped earth. Torches blazed. People saw Obifuna with his hand in his waistband and a snake tasting the air. He tried to talk. He said he was catching it to save everyone. He said he heard a rustle and came to help. Then Mama Rose asked why the cloth tube had old bloodstains. The headman asked why the moonbites began the week he arrived. Silence took over. In that silence, Adaeze stepped forward and raised the ojo. Call it, the headman said quietly. She did. Adaeze let the sound climb and fall like a tide. Not sweet. Firm. The brass key touched her hip twice. The viper swayed, confused, then slid fully out and dropped to the ground with a dull thud. Obifuna lunged to grab it, but the snake turned and struck at the nearest heat, his calf. He yelped, staggered, tried to stamp. The viper struck again. Panic sliced the crowd, but Adaeze kept playing, shaping the air into a narrow path. The viper slowed, as if a rope had tightened around it. "Stay," she breathed between notes. "Stay." The snake obeyed. Obi-Funa's breath whistled. Sweat soaked his shirt. For the first time people saw him without the smile. Just a man who chose death as a tool and found it stretching back for him. They bound his hands and laid him on a mat while the herbalist worked to slow the poison. Obi-Funa begged, then cursed, then begged again. In the morning he confessed without being asked, how he learned to tame vipers from an uncle who poached charms, how the cloth tube kept the snake warm, how he used oil to carry a faint scent that drew the snake to a chosen spot on skin. The council decided the way such matters are decided when a place needs clean air. They burned the cloth tube. They buried the viper beyond the raffia swamp. Obi-Funa was exiled with a mark cut into his left ear so any town would know his story at first glance. By the Udala tree, Adaeze poured water on Olido's grave and let her tears fall, not loud, not hidden. For weeks Ndioko walked softly, like the ground was listening. Then the singing returned at dusk. Mothers let their daughters fetch water in pairs. Boys kicked balls again. Fear did not vanish, but it moved to the edges where it belonged. People began to tell the story, and in the telling Adaeze's name changed shape, from the teacher who came home to the woman who taught a snake to sit. The elders carved a small ojaw above the shrine door. Girls wore brass keys on ribbons during the moon festival, not as charms, but as reminders. When children asked who Obi-Funa was, the adults said, "A smile is a mask. Learn to look for the seam." And when they spoke of Adaeze, they spoke of patience, of steady hands, of music held long enough to make danger bow. The marks stopped appearing. The village learned how to breathe again. The end. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, share, subscribe for more stories.